film begins with a powerful scene where we see two friends named Dean and Josh being tortured by a group of men in broad daylight. In a gruesome moment, we see that Dean has had one of his eyes gouged out, while Josh's tongue has been cut off with pliers, leaving them both in immense pain. Then, a sophisticated blonde woman, who calls herself the Organization, approaches Josh, who is tongueless, and immediately tells him that the next round will be for $10 million. The man cries and begs for the game to stop, but in this terrifying ritual, it seems there is no way out. In the same place where this massacre is taking place, the Organization allows members of the friends' families to enter, specifically Josh's sister and Dean's father. After a cruel game involving some buttons, Josh loses, leading to his sister being killed before his eyes. When Dean's father attempts to attack the Organization in a rage, he is also killed by a gunshot. After this violent scene, we are introduced to a group of American friends and co-workers who are traveling by bus to a resort in a rural area for their vacation after winning an all-expenses-paid promotional prize in an online contest. Among them are two couples, Jude and Heather, and another couple, Andy and Kate. Upon arriving at the hotel, we notice that the first couple seems to have an ideal relationship, treating each other kindly. Although they have some financial issues that prevent them from having a child, they resolve everything through respectful and mature discussions. However, it quickly becomes apparent that Heather is a bit curious as she asks her husband about personal details regarding Andy and Kate's relationship, since her husband is Jude's best friend. Here we understand that the other couple is going through a crisis as Andy recently cheated on his wife, but they decided to stay together nonetheless. However, during the trip to the resort as a couple, tensions quickly surface, and it becomes clear that Kate will treat him coldly because she is no longer interested in hearing his repeated apologies. Later, the men talk while drinking beer, and during this time, Jude reveals that he was addicted to gambling in the past, and now he is considering returning to the casinos due to his current financial difficulties. However, Andy doesn't think this is a good idea, insisting that there are safer ways to increase his income. Afterward, the friends head to a meeting organized by the resort management, which is part of the prize they won. They are greeted by the Organization herself, who behaves with a mix of charm and professionalism. The woman immediately informs them that there is a tradition at the resort to hold a prestigious game played in pairs, offering participants a chance to earn huge sums of money in a short amount of time, up to $20 million. Since they won the online contest, she invites them to participate, emphasizing that they shouldn't miss the opportunity as hundreds of people apply to compete every month. Although the friends were initially hesitant as they came to the resort to relax rather than play, once they heard the amount they could win, they agreed without hesitation. However, the Organization carefully warns them that the game must be completed once it starts, regardless of the circumstances. To give them some reassurance, she tells them they will have a chance to withdraw in the first round if they feel uncomfortable. After she leaves, Jude seems extremely happy because all his financial problems will be solved. But Andy feels something strange about the whole thing and wonders how the resort can afford a multi-million-dollar game. With all these doubts, the friends return in the morning with the Organization, ready to start the game that will solve all their financial troubles. After that, the woman leads them to a kind of ping-pong table and tells them that the game is called Us or Them, which is based on a paradox in decision analysis. In simpler terms, they will face a series of confrontations where they choose options that benefit them as individuals, and ultimately, they will decide whether to share the money or if one of them will keep everything and exclude their friend from the competition. With these words, the first round begins, where they compete for $10,000. In front of Jude and Andy, there is a blue button and a red button. If both press the red button, they will share the $10,000. If one chooses red and the other blue, the person who chooses blue will take all the money, while the one who chooses red will be in debt to the game and forced to find a way to pay off the debt. If both choose blue, they will both incur the debt. Andy quickly expresses his suspicions about the game, affirming that it is one of those dirty reality shows where the excitement comes from watching people betray each other for money. His words are proven true moments later when he starts reminding Jude that he owes $8,000 to a coworker, which makes him certain that Jude will betray him to take the entire $10,000, something Jude denies. insisting that their friendship will always be more valuable than any amount of money. When the time runs out, both make their decision, and as they had agreed, they choose the red button, granting them $5,000 each, paid immediately. However, the organization invites them to continue playing, and in the second round, they are required to place their hands into a device that binds them to the table, something Andy strongly opposes, fearing something unethical may happen to them. But Jude, eager for the money, agrees to continue playing, especially since the new round is only worth $1,000. He manages to convince his friend to keep going, assuring him that if they continue working together like they did in the button test, they will guarantee a win and become rich, allowing him to rebuild his life with Kate and buy a new house with a nanny for his widowed father. Afterward, the friends agree to keep playing, much to the organization's delight, who takes their phones and watches to avoid any distractions, as the rounds will become more complex as they advance, leaving no room for turning back. The two then place their hands into the table's device, which tightly binds their fingers and wrists. The woman provides instructions for the new round, which will once again involve the buttons. This time, if one presses the blue button and the other presses the red, the one who presses blue will take the entire amount of $100,000, while the one who presses red will incur a debt and have to pay it by losing a finger from their hand, which will be cut off by the table's device. If both press red, the money will be split in half, but they will both lose a finger. If both press blue, they will both incur a debt and lose both hands entirely. This leaves the friends terrified, realizing the dire situation they've entered. A bloody game show secretly filmed by a hidden camera in a fountain for an audience of curious viewers who pay large sums to watch this violence. They find pleasure in seeing close friends like Jude and Andy reveal all their secrets under pressure, from Jude's gambling addiction to Andy's infidelity to his wife. After a period of discussions, it is revealed that Jude pressed the blue button, betraying his friend after moments earlier, promising that they would both press red together. As a result, Andy loses one of the fingers on his left hand, screaming in pain and cursing the game's creators. Then, the organization calmly tells them that she is simply doing her job and instructs them without hesitation to continue the game, as the next round will be for $100,000 following the same rules. This leads to further arguments between the friends, especially from Andy towards Jude, accusing him of greed and blaming him for getting them into this predicament. Thus, Jude tells his friend Andy that he now needs to sacrifice and lose a finger, as he doesn't think it's fair that he's been the only one to bleed so far. In the next few seconds, the two friends continue to argue, much to the delight of the organization and the audience. In the end, both choose the red button, meaning the money is split between them, but they both lose a finger. In Andy's case, he loses the finger that bore his wedding ring. After that, the organization introduces the fourth round, which involves other people. Under threat of guns, the woman's assistants order two men to approach the table: Henry, Jude's brother, and Samuel, Andy's father. In this round, if both press the red button, $1 million will be split between them, but their loved ones will have their eyes burned, causing them to go blind. If one presses the blue button and the other the red, the person who pressed blue will take the money and their relative will remain unharmed, while the person who pressed red will not get the money and their relative will be killed instantly. If both press blue in an attempt to save themselves, their loved ones will be killed immediately and neither will receive any money. Despite Andy's attempt to negotiate with the organization to spare their loved ones, she reminds them that the game is non-negotiable and must continue to the end. Jude, on the other hand, sees the most logical option as allowing their loved ones to lose their sight, pointing out that Samuel is old and that he would be able to afford medical treatment and surgeries for Henry. After a chaotic debate, the two friends press the blue button, resulting in their loved ones being killed instantly. Then we reach the final rounds, and this time the victims are the women. Heather and Kate are brought to the table at gunpoint, and the same rules from the previous round are explained to them. Naturally, the women are crying in fear. Kate seizes the moment to tell her husband, Andy, that if one of them is to die, she wants to forgive him for his infidelity, as she realizes they were facing issues in their relationship that they couldn't resolve in time. Because she realized that both of them had been struggling with problems in their relationship that they couldn't resolve in time. On her part, Heather told her husband Jude that she was pregnant and begged him to do everything he could to save her. This revelation deeply affected Jude, pushing him to choose the blue button, betraying Andy once again, who chose the red button in an attempt to save both women. As a result, Jude won $5 million and Kate was killed. Heather was then taken away by the guards, while the two friends prepared for the penultimate round, where they would compete for $10 million. In this round, each of them could lose an eye or win the money, depending on the button they chose. But for Andy, nothing mattered anymore. He had just witnessed both his father and wife die before his eyes, and all he wanted was to end his life. However, both chose the red button, meaning they split the winnings equally, but each lost an eye with a hot iron rod. Moments later, Heather was brought back to the table, and everyone was shocked when the organization announced that this round would depend on her, as she herself had now become a participant in the game. In this final round, each of them had to choose a red or blue card. If they all chose the red card, $20 million would be split equally, but they would all lose their eyes. If one chose the blue card while the others chose red, the person who chose blue would take all the money, while the others would be killed. If they all chose blue, all three would be killed immediately. Heather begged them to choose the red card so they could leave and return to their lives. But Andy was uncertain, as he had always viewed Heather as opportunistic. In the end, the decision was made, and to everyone's surprise, the girl chose the blue card, while the two friends chose the red card. At that moment, Heather told the devastated Andy that she had her whole life ahead of her, and that he was the one who had dragged her into this twisted game in the first place. She then left with the money, leaving the two friends to say their final words as the camera captured their last moments before they were shot dead, marking the end of yet another episode of Us or Them, the favorite show for bloodthirsty viewers on the internet.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.